So yeah, he didn't get a song, but my cousin actually did get run over by a reindeer. Anyway, is this Fabian Lysell's last chance with the Bruins? It's the Garden Level Pod. Let's play the music.
This is hockey right here.
Bruins! Whoa! 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 Whoa!
And didn't even get the settlement money out of it, which is crazier than all of it. It is the Garden Level Podcast. Dan Conlon, Cam Stewart here, home to your third place in the Atlantic, Boston Bruins. Kind of a wagon when they don't play good teams. Like a hell of a wagon. And for now, I will take that. We've got a fully loaded show for you today. We are talking Fabian Lysell, whether it is his time to actually get a run of games with the Bruins, the most divisive figure on the Boston Bruins right now. We'll try to make sense of the Quinn Hughes trade and what the Bruins could have done, but also what this means for the rest of the league. Little injury report, little look ahead, looking at the Stadium Series jerseys, full review coming up. But first things first, we're starting a new thing on the show. Dan doesn't even know about it. I didn't even let Dan know. But it is the 11th episode of the Guard Level Podcast. And I thought, what better opportunity to take, the number of your episode while we're still in the double digits than to highlight a Bruins player who wore that number. Dan Conlon, your favorite Bruins player ever to wear number 11.
And I can't say Trent Frederick, or is that allowed?
You could say Trent Frederick. It's stupid, but you could say Trent Frederick. There's a lot of people who'd agree with you, actually.
Frederick's obviously up there. Sad he's not on the team anymore. No, he's not. He's not actually up there. Middlestat. Haven't bought that jersey yet, but maybe if he signs an extension here in the summer, we'll wait on that. But I don't think haven't been too many good 11s recently. I think we got to go back, at least a decade or so. At least a decade. I would say good old GC.
Oh, send a text in the GC. Wow, the right answer. Gregory Campbell, dude. I was such a big Gregory Campbell guy. Which might come as a surprise to you. Like I was just a big. Like if I was puck slutting for anyone on that Bruins team, it was Gregory Campbell. I just felt it was like you had to root for somebody who's not one of the stars to feel like a real fan. For me, it was Soupy.
That's not a bad guy to root for. Obviously, I still miss that fourth line. Honestly, the fourth line with Kaslik is kind of bringing a lot of energy to that line where you get kind of flashbacks of Daniel Paille and Sean Thornton. You kind of miss
line, baby.
The Merlot line. And then obviously that picture's from that famous block shot he had where he skates off the ice and kills off the shift. And that's one of probably like when I was thinking of Gregory Campbell, that's literally if you search Gregory Campbell Bruins, that's like the only videos that pop up.
That's
unless you do some deep diving.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think my biggest memories with Gregory Campbell, obviously he was a very physical player, fourth liner, but if you remember his dad, I think I'm not sure his exact title, but he was the director of player safety.
That's it.
And I remember everyone complaining whenever Campbell had some type of hit and he wouldn't get punished. It'd be like, oh, daddy's not going to punish his son. And, obviously you had Rome getting suspended the rest of the Stanley Cup for that fight. So
controversy. Yeah.
He did have
There's still some people that buy into that conspiracy theory. Have you heard that one?
Not really. Honestly, I thought it was kind of over with when they burned their city down in Vancouver. I thought it's like, hey, let's just burn some cars and we'll be okay.
It was sick.
But are people still Aaron Rome murmurs going around in British Columbia?
I think there are, man. I think there's still some people that adhere to that. Like Tim Thomas's pads were illegal, and that Colin Campbell gave preferential treatment to his son's team because Aaron Rome was suspended 4 games.
Also,
I think
one thing.
It had never happened. Like a guy hadn't been kicked out of a whole Stanley Cup final. It was a pretty dirty hit, to be fair, if we go back to that. it was a pretty dirty hit. So maybe, just maybe, Gregory Campbell, even more than Tim Thomas, was the reason that the Bruins won the Stanley Cup. Like if
and
Colin
not
Campbell had finished on the sheets instead, the Bruins might not have that Stanley Cup.
it knocked Horton out the rest of the Stanley Cup. So it's not like a guy got suspended and then Horton came back 2 games later and
He's
made
just
an
faking
impact.
it.
Like
Yeah.
he was off the ice the rest of the Stanley Cup, but I'm surprised there was no murmurs about how Horton went to Vancouver and dumped some ice, some TD Garden ice onto the rink over there. I think that's kind of symbolic. Obviously, if anyone forgot, every team won at home prior to Game 7.
History
So
with Dan.
Horton
Yeah.
brings over some ice in a Gatorade bottle from Boston to Vancouver. I doubt that it was still ice when it got there, but it was still symbolic. Yeah, some TD Garden ice was on the ice, and the rest is history. The Bruins win that game pretty convincingly. And I always say that game, now that we kind of felt the same way with the Blues coming here, I'm like, that's how Canucks fans must have felt, where it was just a
Yeah.
terrible game at home.
Yeah. With that 3-day buildup,
Yeah.
knowing you're going to be at home in a Game 7, especially in that one in Vancouver, because like you said, they'd won every home game. So you're like, all right, here it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude, big Gregory Campbell fan. Met him at a Dick's Sporting Goods, got his autograph. People forget the round before he plays with the broken leg in the Game 5 decisive win against the Rangers to move on to the conference finals. Gregory Campbell scored 2 goals in that game, and they won by 2 goals. So Gregory Campbell was the difference, including one on the empty net, which was like he kind of like sweep checked at the blue line, like right in front of the bench, and just like hit it off a guy's stick, and it just went into the net. So big Gregory Campbell fan. Episode 11 dedicated to the memory of Gregory Campbell, who is still alive as far as I know.
Hopefully he hears this.
Hopefully wherever he is, he hears this and knows that we're still thinking about him here and that he lives with us every day.
More than welcome
How
to
about,
join too.
huh?
More than welcome to join the pod whenever he wants.
Always,
Open
dude.
invite.
Gregory Campbell. And actually, he's kind of hurting the Bruins, I think. I think he is the Charlotte Checkers GM, which is the Panthers AHL team. I think he is like a special assistant to the GM in Florida, and so he runs the AHL team. I think that's correct.
What's up
And I
with
went
the
to a
Merlot
Checkers
line
game last year looking for him.
joining the
I know
Panthers? Sean
and
Thorne.
and then what happens? The Panthers win. You know, like where Sean Thornton and Gregory Campbell go, championships follow.
And Roberto Luongo.
Someplace just won. Yeah, dude, that was a fever dream last year when I had to see Roberto Luongo celebrating a Brad Marchand overtime playoff game-winning goal. That was really the Twilight Zone.
Is he still active on Twitter? I remember, was it Strombone? What was the Twitter account Luongo had? I remember he was pretty active with
Jesus, I
trolling
don't
people.
remember.
I think it was
Yeah.
Strombone, but Luongo would poke fun at himself with Marchand having his number. I remember he was pretty active on Twitter when he was a player. I'm not sure if the front office role changed that, but I do remember
Dude,
he had like a pretty active Twitter account with a big following. I think it was Strombone. I'll look it up after.
He was such a good villain.
Yeah.
Like he seems to be like a nice guy and everything, but he was such like a perfect villain from Central Casting. Like he looks like a fucking Batman villain. Like, you know, he's got this hair slicked back. Like he couldn't really grow a beard. That team was just full of villains. Like that team was so easy to dislike. That Canucks team, and Luongo like calling out Thomas and being like, "Yeah, you know, it's easy for me. It's easy save for me." And then he gave up 10 goals in the next 2 games. Like it was awesome. So shout out to Gregory Campbell, but T's and P's to Roberto Luongo. Never won the Stanley Cup. Too bad. Gregory
As
Campbell.
a player, yep.
Look, yes, correct. He's gotten hoisted a couple of times, one at the Bruins' expense. But anyway, looking at this Bruins team, Dan, coming off the road trip, okay, you take 2 out of the 3. It ends a 4-game winning streak. Let's call it what it was. It was a fucking disaster in Minnesota on Sunday. After the Patriots lose to the Bills, we then get to hear the Bills song 6 times because it's also the goal song for the Minnesota Wild, which is just awesome. But your takeaways from the stretch before that of 4 straight 3-goal wins.
Yeah, if you go on a road trip and you take 4 out of 6, that's something you come back on like on a high note with some confidence and you're feeling good. If you start out in St. Louis and there was there was a great game, we saw Montgomery again. He was in Boston. He had that 5-second tribute video, which went great
Who
in the
could
Tea
forget?
Garden, and went there and did some damage. We'll pull up a tweet later, but there's a funny tweet by the St. Louis Blues kind of trolling Morgan Geekie walking into the arena with a puff jacket. But I think you look at that game. Pasta came back. Mac is back as well. That road trip, Pasta put up 7 points in his first 2 games back. Good to have him back. I think there was some stat saying I think the Bruins are like 5-1, 6-1 when they have Pasta, McAvoy, and Lindholm in the lineup. So it was nice to see everyone healthy again. Honestly, we haven't seen that in a while. I feel like we we kind of taking that for granted. But happy to see everyone back and healthy. The first 2 games, Pasta was Pasta. He was on the third
Dude,
line,
he's so
uh, third line Pasta. He, I'm
like
not
that.
sure what your thoughts were on those lines.
Oh, I loved it, dude. I loved it. As a way to ease him back in, eases his way into 7 points in his first 2 games back. But really, you know what I really loved about that was it shows you what Pasternak can do in terms of elevating his teammates. Like Morgan Geekie's still doing the damn thing, even when he hasn't had Pasta on his line. But like clearly, Pasternak did a lot to elevate Morgan Geekie's game the last,
Yep.
the last 2 seasons, I would say, and he did it with Fraser Minten on Tuesday against the Blues, right? Like he goes up like Fraser Minten has not played with any offensive talent at the NHL level. Just hasn't done it. It's not his fault. Just hasn't happened yet. And he finally gets a talented winger, aka one of the most talented wingers in the sport, and he just scores 2 goals. Like, and Pasternak gets 3 assists. And like you can just I just think it's still like I think Pasternak is still underrated by a lot of people around the NHL. Like he's one of the top 5 forwards in the league. He is that good. He is on a level of your McKinnons of the world and your McDavids. They're probably a little bit higher, but like Pasternak is right there. Draisaitl. Like Pasternak is there. And it shows me again when Fraser Minten, it's like the old adage, when Fraser Minten scores 2 goals, David Pasternak is as good as Connor McDavid. That's been long told throughout history. But like bringing both those dudes back too in that trip, like you get the Pasternak 7 points in 2 games, and then you get Charlie McAvoy playing what was it, 26 minutes
I
in
think it
his
was around
first game back.
25 in his first game. Yeah,
25, like that's
they
that's
did not
crazy.
ease
He's
him
lost
back.
20 pounds, man. He lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks. That's like the opposite of a Pablo Sandoval. I think he added 21 pounds in 21 days. Like McAvoy lost it, and he's out there playing 25 minutes. It's crazy how valuable those guys are to this team and the fact that they were winning without him. But, you're
Yeah.
facing non-playoff teams, but you kick the shit out of all of them,
hmm And you beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And going back to
which they didn't
McAvoy,
do.
I just want
Yes.
to bring up when the McAvoy injury happened. Obviously, we didn't know too much. Obviously, he got surgery. The first reports that came out were saying, "Oh, he should be okay for the Olympics. Like he should be okay by then."
Going
And
to
then
be in a hell of
fast
a lot better
forward,
shape than the arena, man.
yeah, he is.
He'll be ready
Um,
before that.
those pictures of the arena are kind of concerning, but I'm just gonna forget about that so it doesn't ruin my winter. But
Sure.
hopefully, we get an update in January of a stadium that's fully completed and has a good rink. But McAvoy was supposed to be okay for Olympics, and then fast forward to last week, he's leading the stretch at practice. I'm not sure. There's not really that's a kind of fluke injury. There's really no protocol. He got cleared though, but that just goes to his toughness. He lost 20 pounds. I think he's not eating solid foods yet either. So he's playing 25 minutes, not eating solid foods. It's a good testament to him. I'm happy he's on the ice. Hopefully he stays healthy. Obviously he hasn't played in a month either. So in the Minnesota game, it kind of looked like that might have been adding up to him. But I'm happy to see he's back. His team, even a McAvoy that's at 80%, 70%. We'll take that over, the other options that we have. And then for Pasta, I just want to point out how like unselfish he is. He could be a top 5 player in the NHL if you want to debate that. I think a lot of people
Yes.
may not say that, but Bruins fans would. But he's so unselfish. You put him on whatever line, first, second, third line. We've had players in the past who, you know, I think DePruss got mad when he got bumped to the third line and wasn't scoring his normal goals like he did when he was on the first line. But Pasta's like, just put me wherever and I'll adapt to them. If you bring it back to when Geeky was doing well, he said, this guy is one of the best shooters in the league. Feed him. That gave Geeky a lot of confidence. He said he was more confident when he shows up to the rink now. And then when he plays with Marat, he says, hey, I'll adjust to your game. Don't adjust to my game. I'll adjust to your game. So I just think he's just an unselfish player, and we're very fortunate to have him. He's locked up long term. There's no Mikko Rantanen situation going on there, no Quinn Hughes situation. We'll talk about Quinn Hughes in a bit, but we have a good superstar on our team, and he's playing the way the coach wants him to play, and he'll do anything to help the team win, and that's all you can ask for.
By the way, since we're on the topic, I'm like, let's just do it. Looked at the ESPN list of their top 100 NHL players before the season. Players, okay, not forwards, not scorers, top 100 players. David Pastrnak, the 24-25 season, he was ranked 11th by ESPN. Going into the 25-26 season, he is ranked 11th by ESPN. It's a dude who scored 106 points last year on a 15th place team. And they're like, nah, he didn't get any better. Right in front of him. Right in front of him. Mikko Rantanen at 10, Jack Eichel at 9, Austin Matthews at 8. It's not crazy, Dan. It is not crazy what I'm about to say. David Pastrnak is better than all of those players. Am I wrong?
No.
Like, he's clearly better than Matthews. Like, that's like Matthews 3 years ago. That's a hell of an argument. But right now, like, you're going to tell me Austin Matthews is a better player than David Pastrnak? We're not watching the same sport, brother. Like, I'm sorry. Rantanen, hell of a player, 100-point guy. So is David Pastrnak. Eichel, I fucking love Jack Eichel. Love him. And you want to argue, the center kind of thing. Fine. But Pastrnak from the wing elevates his teammates as well. Eichel's probably a better defensive player since he's gotten that the last couple of years. But Pastrnak is a better hockey player than Jack Eichel.
And he does it with less. Yeah.
And like some years I can argue he's better than Draisaitl. And Draisaitl's really good. You know what I mean? Like, let's not take away here. And putting goalies in here, it's just tough. There's literally no comparison to it. Quinn Hughes didn't have a great year last year. Still pretty good. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. But Pastrnak right ahead of Vasilevsky, Reinhart, Shesterkin, Kaprizov, Brady Tkachuk, 16. Better than Mitch Marner? I don't know. But Pastrnak not even in the top 10. Like, I don't know how you watch the sport and think that he's not a top 10 player in the league. It's not like they have a bunch of talent this year either. Let's be honest. The Geeky's a better player in the world knows it, but there's not a ton of transcendent. This is not Bergeron and Marchand on a line with him.
No, it's not. And he's playing with you guys, Minton scoring goals, and he wasn't scoring goals with the people he was playing with prior to that. When you look at the guys in the top 10 that you said and the teams that they have, obviously you can put up more points and get more recognition. When you have more superstars on the team, it gets more attention. But Pasta has been playing with less the past 2 years. Obviously, when Bergeron retires, Marchand leaves, all the attention goes on him, and he has to carry more of a load. And he hasn't been complaining about that. He hasn't been complaining about that. But yeah, I don't. The Pasta disrespect has gone on for a while. He's had 3 straight 100-point seasons. I guess how many 100-point seasons does he need to have in a row where he cracks the top 10?
I know, right? Like, how many 60-goal seasons does he need? It's not 3 straight 100-point seasons, and the talent around him dips pretty significantly every season of that run. And he's going to do it again. Like, if he has he's going to play 75 games. If he gets that, he's going to score 100 points again. He's on pace to do it. So I'm not standing for it. It's wild to think that pretty much a consensus around the league outside of the ESPN rankings is that he probably is a top 10 player, and yet he's still underrated. He still is. And we should be freaking basking in this, man. He's in his prime right now. Like he's worth the price of admission. Well, those matinee games, maybe no one's worth the price of admission for a Bruins home Saturday afternoon game, but he's worth the price of admission all by himself. And you gotta get at least a plan in place to start winning over the next 2-3 seasons before you just literally completely waste this dude's prime.
It's crazy. He's been around since 2016, and he still hasn't turned 30 yet. He turns 30 in May, so our young Pastrnak is now entering his 30s. It's kind of sad
Becoming
to see.
a man.
It's sad to see he's 30 and hasn't gotten a cup yet. Certainly deserves one. So hopefully that comes in his 30s because it did not happen in his 20s. But I will say he hasn't cracked the top 10 on ESPN's list in overall players, but one area he does get a lot of recognition for is his outfits. I think he's always voted best dresser in the NHL among his colleagues. So maybe he doesn't want he gets a recognition off the ice. So at least he's got that going for him. But yeah, hopefully people start paying attention to what he's doing on the ice as well.
Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews, man. Anyway, what people don't know about the Bruins, or about David Pastrnak, I guess, what people don't know is that the Bruins have another David Pastrnak. They have a Swedish winger just sitting there. Just sitting there in Providence, ready to go. Victor Arvidsson, not him. He's out again. And now the people are clamoring, Dan. This is the most divisive figure in the Boston Bruins right now. It is time, or is it time, to bring Fabian Lysell back into the fold and free the Swede? Having a big year. Dan, is it time to give Fabian Lysell a shot?
Shout out to Jesse for that graphic. That's awesome.
That's great.
I am team free the Swede. I'm not sure. It's a very touchy subject. I'd say Bruins Twitter's very 50-50 on this, where it's why hasn't he been called up yet? I'm going to freak out. And it's if I hear the name Fabian Lysell one more time, I'm going to delete my Twitter account. It's really like 50-50. If I haven't watched every Providence game this year, so I can't like dissect his game as much as some people may do. But I'm team call him up, whether you like him or not. I think you need to boost his value. And if he can contribute to your team and help you win games, that's great for the Bruins this season. And it also improves his trade value if you want to trade him. If you don't think he's got a space on this team in the future, I think it doesn't hurt to call him up for a few games and maybe toss him in a trade with, could you get someone with a first round pick attached to it with Lysell that you like and thinks better suits the Bruins style of play. But there's something going on here. He's a point per game player. I'm not sure. I guess Sturm just hates him because I think Sturm's the one calling the shots. Sweeney drafted this guy. I'm sure he kind of wants him to be up in the league eventually to see if his first round pick can pan out. But I'm team call him up, whether you think he's on a part of the future or not. I think you got to kind of boost his value, and he either helps you in the short term or he helps his trade value. If not, you could send him back down and say you tried. But right now you have Marat on the second line. I'd rather see him over a few players that are currently in the lineup. So I think it's a perfect scenario.
Sorry, you'd like to see Husnudinov over those players, or you'd like to see Lysell over some of those players?
I'd like to see Lysell over some of the third liners. I'll let you go more into what players. I think we have the similar view on this, but
because I like Husnudinov. I think we both do.
Oh yeah,
I think he's earned the spot here. But yeah, I mean, I look at a practice line that's got Mikey Eyssimont still out there, and I'm like, God. But see, this is also the same thing we were saying in July of okay, you could have Mikey Eyssimont, or you could just play Fabian Lysell. You don't have to come and bring somebody in. You could just play Fabian Lysell. I'd love him over Tanner Jeannot, but that's not happening. I know. I'd love him over Sean Corrali, but they don't play the same position. Actually, Husnudinov could center that line. I'm just throwing stuff out there. The other thing with Lysell too, which I think should factor in here. one of the, like, you said it, point a game player, right, down in the AHL. But the other thing is the dude's hot. I don't mean like just the neck beard behind the bars that we've got here with Cam Neely jail, Neely not spelled correctly. But like the guy's on fire right now. Okay. He's not a point a game player over his time in the AHL, but through a pretty good sample size of basically half the season, 22 games, 11 goals, 11 assists. How about that for consistency? So 22 and 22. He also has 22 penalty minutes and he's number 22. Something to think about. +8 shooting percentage. Any guess on what percent his shooting percentage is?
I'm going to guess it's lower than Geeky.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.4 shooting percentage for Fabian Lysell, which is 10% higher than what he's had in either of the last 2 years. So, like, I know this is kind of a dumb way to think about it, but if nothing else, if you bring this kid up right now, like, he's feeling himself. Like, he's got the moves. His shot's going in the net. You know what I mean? And it's going to regress to the mean probably at some point because, again, he's not been a point a game player. He was almost that 2 years ago with Providence, but was well below that last year. So you have a chance to kind of catch lightning in a bottle with Fabian Lysell. But I want to go back to the point that you made of, like, clearly Sturm is calling the shots, which I think is correct, right? Like we're seeing guys getting benched that I don't think Joe Sacco nor Jim Montgomery would have been benching last year. And it's been kind of interesting. Some of the guys they've called up and haven't called up. Pastr being one who has not been called up at all. Lysell obviously being the other big scorer, one that has not been called up. So do you think, like, forget of what we want, do you think Fabian Lysell is playing wing on the second line for the Bruins this week?
If they waited this long, I feel like they would have called him up for the Minnesota game if they were going to call him up. So I don't think they're calling up this week. Even that kind of sounds crazy to me, but I don't think they will be calling up unless there's another injury or something. Someone loses their spot in the lineup that Sturm currently likes over Lysell. But
Yeah.
I feel like if they were going to make the move, they would have done it. I think they had a chance to do it over the weekend. It lined up pretty well, but I don't think they're calling him up if they haven't already. But he's a former first-round pick, 21st overall, 2021, I believe.
Yep.
He's got 12 games played in the NHL in his career, all last year. He's been overhyped for Bruins fans because, like we said, we have prospects now, but for the last 3 or 4 years, we've had prospect, and it
Yes.
was Fabian
Barely,
Lysell because we just traded our first-round picks after that draft. When we went all in, I believe we traded draft picks back-to-back years, so we didn't have a first-round pick for a while. So I think Lysell's hype he's been overhyped for a while, and now I think people are just getting kind of tired. Like, hey, like, what are we doing? Like, if it's not now, in the beginning of the season, we said we have too many bottom six players, we need some injuries, or people need to be traded, and those injuries have popped up. Like, that's like the perfect scenario if Arvidsson goes down to slot him in right there.
Yeah.
Not saying he'll do well, but people just want to see him. And I think Sturm, he called out Johnny Beecher for effort. Maybe, the effort isn't there he's not seeing the effort from Lysell or not seeing something.
I think that's got to be a part of it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
because he has a bunch of unskilled guys up here who do work their ass off.
I know.
So I think that's Sturm's kind of whole MO, don't you?
Yeah. Also, Johnny Beecher update. 12 games played for the Flames, 1 assist, -6. That's the Johnny Beecher update people were waiting for. Had to get that in there. But
so every
seems
12
like that
games would be a point.
1 point. I'm not sure. I haven't watched any Flame games recently.
Every other
recently,
game he'll be on the ice for a goal against and never be under that math. He's never on the ice for a goal for. That sounds right. That sounds about it.
That move.
Thing, yeah.
I was just you go ahead, but that move kind of was a right move so far. I don't think Beecher is missed, and I think that might be tied into the Lysell thing, where Lysell was a young player that Sturm just hasn't seen effort from in camp, where he'd be hard to play against. He can put up the highlight goals and put up points, but if he's not hard to play against, I guess Sturm doesn't want him in the lineup. That's the only thing I can kind of think of.
And imagine
But
he is hard to play against, if we're being honest. And I think there's some good parts of Lysell's game. And I think Bruins fans probably got overhyped and excited because he's very different from the kind of player that Don Sweeney drafts and very different from the one the Bruins have drafted for the last ever. Really, they don't draft a lot of skilled guys. Obviously, Pastrnak is an example of the time that they did and got insane value. They drafted guys like Kessel and Sagan because they had top 5 picks, and that's what you do. But Lysell, to be towards the end of the first round, in a weird year, albeit for scouting because it was all COVID stuff and there were leagues that weren't happening and all that stuff. Like this was a good reach of like, okay, this is what we're going for: speed, skill, puck handling, not just big guys, and it just hasn't really panned out. And I know a lot of people are calling for like, hey, give this kid a chance. And I'm not saying he's had like every chance in the world, but like they basically saved the spot for him before last season, to be on their second line on the wing. And when DeBrusk walked, right? And they didn't sign anybody. So he has had opportunities. Like there have been guys hurt. Arvidsson, this is not the first time he's been hurt this year. There were guys hurt last year. He goes to training camp every year. He plays in the preseason. So it's not like that this guy, like they don't even know his name. And he hasn't had a great run of games in the NHL, which is a different argument. But he has had a chance to impress the brass here with the Bruins and through a couple of different coaches, and he hasn't been able to do it. So that's where I'm like, has it been long enough that I trust Don Sweeney and Marco Sturm on this one, that like the kid's just not going to be a good NHL player? He was already at a bit of a disadvantage because of his size, but he was also a first round pick. So you expect the skill to trump that. And I just don't think it has. I don't think it has. And so I don't love the narrative that like he hasn't gotten a chance at all. Like he's gotten looks, you know what I mean? He's gotten opportunities, just not, he hasn't played 40 games in a row in the regular season in the NHL, which is a different argument to me. But I don't think he's going to be there. I don't.
what do you think they could get in a hypothetical trade scenario right now if they were shopping Lysell, which they might be or maybe not, but what do you think his value would be right now if he's a former first round pick about to turn 23 years old, putting up a point per game in the AHL, but has only 12 games of NHL experience? His value is not that great, but I know some Bruins fans just want to get rid of him. Like, what do you think they could get for him right now?
That's a great question. Johnny Beecher was a first round pick. He had to go on waivers. Matej Blumel was a great AHL scorer. You signed him to a 1-year deal. You didn't have to trade for him. The closest thing I could think of on this roster for the Bruins going the other way was someone like Marat Hustadinov, which was a late round pick, and Justin Brazeau.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's what you're getting for him, I think.
Yeah.
A kid who has not played a lot in the NHL, and Hustadinov was a second round pick and had played a little bit in the NHL, a little bit. He'd been bouncing up and down. I think that's the kind of return you get for him.
Yeah.
A Brazeau type player, not this year Brazeau, who's cooled off significantly, but still not this year Brazeau, mind you. You're getting a Johnny Beecher type in return. I think that's what you get.
I was kind of hoping maybe some teams just likes Lysell, and you could kind of
that could be true. By the way, that could be true.
There could be there could be teams out there that kind of value him, and maybe you could be like, hey, you value him? We have this guy Korpisalo, great goaltender. We'll give you both of them, all yours. Just
7th. Just give us a 6th or 7th.
And we'll give you 2 for 1.
Fine. Yeah.
BOGO. Buy one, get one.
We'll even take a third of Korpisalo's cap hit. How about that?
Instead of BOGO, it'd be buy Lysell, get Korpisalo.
Yeah. What's Bilk?
Yep. The classic Bilk.
Bilk. Yeah. A lot of those going on Christmas time. One of those deals.
Still going.
BLGK. If you could pull that off, I'm in. I'm in. Don, you really want us to get an apology episode? Here's the blueprint. This is the way to do it. So I personally don't think Lysell is going to be there. And it's probably for a lot of the same reasons you said. Like, if it hasn't happened already, when is it happening? When is it happening? But speaking of Fabian Lysell or the Bruins last game, we compare it to the Murat Hustadinov trade. Do you remember what team Hustadinov came from?
Well, I said that Minnesota Wild game, the biggest headline was Murat returning. That was the biggest
Obviously.
headline of that game. And
Yeah.
I think the second headline would be Casey Middlestat returning home. I
Yep.
think he got to see his brother's proposal or engagement party. So
That's
those are the
awesome,
top
man.
two headlines going into that game.
And look,
And then there's a big drop off with
you got a
everything else.
mass guy, you got a BC Eagle, former Bruin Bill Guerin running the show with the Minnesota Wild. So obviously that's always a little bit.
The headlines were there.
They were all there. You know, there was all kinds of intrigue around that game. This other thing happened a couple of days before as well,
Yep.
Dan, on Friday. The Minnesota Wild traded for Quinn Hughes.
Luke's brother. Wow.
Not the other Luke Hughes that you might be thinking of, but the other Luke Hughes, his brother. And their dad used to be an assistant coach with the Bruins. I don't know if you knew that. Used to be a Bruins assistant.
I was kind of hoping that it worked in our advantage, but it clearly did not.
Not yet. Not yet.
Free agent soon.
Soon, yeah, probably pretty soon here. I've seen a lot of people saying that this is the most shocking trade in NHL history. Gretzky did get traded as a 28-year-old. That's pretty surprising after 4 Stanley Cups. Patrick Roy got traded in the middle of the season to a team that had just moved to Colorado 2 months earlier. So I'd say those are pretty surprising. Joe Thornton was traded in the middle of an MVP season. And 2 of those guys that we just mentioned didn't quit on their team and just pout on their team for a couple of weeks until they got traded. But this one is pretty surprising. Quinn Hughes to the Minnesota Wild. Dan Conlon, when you saw that news, what was your reaction?
I was not shocked. I saw an interview.
See, that's the thing. It wasn't that shocking for me.
I saw an interview with him.
Maybe, but yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know where he was going. Obviously, the Devils are the rumors going to the Devils.
Eventually, that's where it will happen.
Eventually, that will happen, whether it's in 1 year or maybe he falls in love with Minnesota. Minnesota has a great core that I think he's going to see how it works out. Bunch of fellow Americans that he'll be playing with at the Olympics are there. He said it was close to it's not far from Michigan. So he's going to go in there with an open mind. I think it was a week ago I heard an interview in Vancouver when he was there. And I think reporters were giving him 2 or 3 follow-ups, just to be like, hey, do you want to shut down these rumors that you don't want to be here? And he just did not shut them down. He was just he called his GM by his nickname. So that's always a bad sign when you're getting nicknames. Calling your GM, if you're calling Don Sweeney Sweens and he's your boss, that's a ticket out of Boston probably. But I think the writing was on the wall, and I'm not sure if that the Oilers Penguins trade facilitated other trades. If people are like, hey, we gotta get the trades going now. But the trade deadline is still a long ways away. But teams are not waiting. It's a very tight standings right now, so I think teams just don't want to wait. So maybe the Bruins may make a move sooner rather than later. But my reaction was I was not shocked. He clearly didn't want to be in Vancouver. He was tired of the losing. Now he's closer to home. And you knew he was just going to score against the Bruins too. You just knew that was happening.
Yep.
Especially the way that game was going after the third goal. You're like, okay, he's going to get one. But Swayman just let one in for him just to welcome the Minnesota moment for Sway. So shout out to Sway for letting that happen.
Yeah.
Great. He's gonna be his teammate in the Olympics. So I think that just helps overall with that. Helps the chemistry with Team USA. But yeah, I'm not shocked at all. What about you?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. Minnesota was a little surprising because we had not heard them. It had been Detroit and New Jersey were the 2 that we heard. I will say though, in terms of the return, I just wonder what this does for Brandon Carlo's market. Quinn Hughes gets traded, and it's only 1 first-round pick, Dan. So that's going to be pretty tough for our friends in Toronto to convince Seattle to send 4 first-round picks for Brandon Carlo when Quinn Hughes only goes for 1. If Hughes re-signs there, which is tough all the way around, because of the Kaprizov deal and their cap hits and all that. But if he does, that could kind of be a steal for Minnesota. Like when this came up, I thought, oh, like huge bummer. That means they're trading Brock Faber,
Yep.
who's having a good year, like kind of bounce back after a bad start. And he's a Minnesota kid, like really wanted to play there. That sucks. And then I look and I'm like, oh shit, they didn't. They gave up Zeev Buyam, who is a promising young defenseman out of Denver. And that stinks. But they were looking to trade Marco Rossi anyway. And they get rid of Zeev Buyam, 1 first-round pick, and the other kid, the winger, that's the prospect there whose name's escaping me.
Starts with
And
O.
so, yeah, and if you get Quinn Hughes, if you extend him as a 26-year-old, like if he gets an 8-9 year deal, then you've got him and Kaprizov locked down for a while. Like that's
with Boldy in favor.
Yeah, with Boldy and Faber and
Good
Eriksson Ek
goaltending.
for however long, you're getting great goaltending right now. Like you're in a heck of a good spot, like as good a spot as the Minnesota Wild have ever been in. With this core that they have at this moment. Now, obviously, the big thing is, I doubt he's going to resign. I think he's going to go to New Jersey. I think that's inevitable.
Winning's going to be very important. If they can
They'll
make
have
the
a real
deep
shot
run.
this year. This is all, if nothing else, this is an all-in move.
Oh yeah,
they can stack up with anybody.
and I was wondering if this could turn into another Ranton situation, which happened literally last year, where he gets traded to a team that thinks he's going to resign or sign there, and they don't, so they trade him again, which is still on the table. But I'm not sure if Quinn Hughes feels differently than Rantanen. But that's another thing that could possibly happen. We'll keep an eye out for that. I always thought too. I'm not sure. Hockey players are different. Like he's 26 now. If he signs like an 8-year contract that takes him to his 35 season, I'm not sure if he's willing to sign there short term. Maybe he's like, hey, I'll do my prime here. Maybe it's like a 4-year. I think Bouchard signed a 4-year, 10.5 AAV with the Oilers. Maybe
Yeah,
he's open to a
like
short-term
3
deal
year.
where I'll play my prime in Minnesota with this core that we got, and then I'll join my brothers in Jersey when I'm 32 or 33. Could do that. Obviously that's a huge risk.
And we've seen that in baseball the last 5
Yep.
or 6 years, and we haven't really seen it in really any other sport, but not
No.
hockey.
Everyone wants 8 years, and obviously it's more safe. But with the salary cap rising, if you want to bet on yourself and risk it, you can make a little bit more money when you sign a contract in your younger 30s. But I'm curious how this plays out. And time will tell. But I think it's a good move by the Wild. They did give up. It's a good package. Obviously, you never
I think
want
it
to
is,
trade
yeah.
Quinn Hughes. Like those are players you just never want to trade. If the Bruins, if Pastrnak wasn't going to resign here a few years ago, and he just didn't like playing here, if we were losing, like it would have sucked if we had to trade Pastrnak. But it's the player you got it. You can't just let walk for free. So they had to trade him, and we'll see how the return works out. I think some of the players have scored for the Canucks in their first or second games. I think all the players that they obviously got the first this year, but I think the 3 other players were all former first round picks too. So
That sounds right.
they got 3
God, can you
former
imagine the
first,
vibe shift, by the way?
3
Like, you're
former
going to
first
play
and
for
a first.
Vancouver. Oh,
Yeah.
like, not
Uh,
like, Minnesota's obviously, like, the coldest place ever, but, like, the vibes there are so high right
mhm.
now. Like, they're a ready-to-win team, ready to win for kind of the first time, and then you gotta go to Vancouver instead. That's such a sinking ship of an organization.
Hey, maybe they
God.
get McKenna this year. Maybe McKenna saves the Canucks. But before we move off of Hughes, I'm curious if we
Yeah.
want to run a hypothetical based on the return that they got for Hughes. If the Bruins did trade for Quinn Hughes, what do you think that package would look like based on what you've seen? Obviously, it's not going to be eye for eye, but what do you think that return is if the Bruins pulled off that trade based on what you saw? What do the Bruins have to give up?
Everyone's gonna have to give up first-round pick. this year.
So that's a given.
So there you go. Your first round pick. Maybe you can sway him with Toronto's, because if this was a deal that was done at the trade deadline, you could maybe sway him with Toronto's. But I think most of the league is betting on the Leafs to be better than the Bruins the rest
Just
of the
show
season.
him McDavid skating down the highway
God.
against the Leafs, and maybe that will sway them with that decision. Yeah,
So
we'll take
you'd have
Toronto actually.
so first round pick 26.
Yep.
Hagens. Like I think that's the Booyam thing. The Booyam was the first round pick. He just happened to play in the NHL for you. The Bruins don't have other first round picks that have been playing in the NHL. They have Fabian Lysell. So Hagens is probably a guy. Maybe you can get him with Minton. In fact, Minton is a Vancouver kid. Maybe you can convince him on that. But I think it'd be really tough for Vancouver to be like, yeah, we'll take Fraser Minton instead of James Hagens there. Like if you put Minton in a second first round pick, maybe then you're talking. And then you had a guy who obviously been a young, Rossi's only like 23, 24. And he's been on the team a couple of years. He's played on the first line. So that's the problem. There's really no comp there for the Bruins. Golly, I don't even know.
Do you think they'd be interested in Lowry?
I was thinking it would probably be someone like Lowry instead.
We don't have too many.
There's your
promising young
defenseman. So yeah, there's your defenseman to fill a spot. So I think the Bruins would have to go heavier on draft picks because of that, which is kind of a benefit that Minnesota didn't have to do because they had good young talent. They developed good young talent. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, some combination of Hagens, first round, Lowry, I think is how you get. And maybe that's it right there, because there's obviously no guarantee at all that there's an extension from Quinn Hughes, but it's something like that. Yeah.
I think an extension obviously makes that trade. They'll get bigger return for that. But when you're trying to trade someone that isn't going to resign there, that's not great for your team if other GMs know like, hey, he's not resigning there. So I was thinking obviously at first you could maybe, and Bruins have 4 in the next 2 years, so maybe you can throw in another one just so you don't have to give up another person. But you look at the return, I think it's the first, and then you have like 2 middle six guys on offense, and then you have a young promising defenseman. So I was thinking the first Lowry, not saying he's the same, but that's kind of the best we have to offer. I know he's not young, but I'm not sure if they would be interested in Zaka. I know there's some rumors there early in the season. He's still 28 in his prime. I'm not sure what the Canucks are planning on doing, if they want a quick rebuild.
And if you're doing it at this time of year, he could be a quick flip.
Yep.
He'd be great at the trade deadline, and that fetches you another first round pick.
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking low rise Zaka first, and maybe you could get away with, I'm not sure if you could whether it's Minton or Pastr, but I would be happy not to give up Hagens. Maybe keeping Hagens is like the Wild keeping Faber, like 7th overall pick. Obviously they would want him, but maybe the Bruins can convince him not to include him just since he doesn't have an extension signed, and you could kind of give him Minton or Pastr instead, or Lysell.
Lysell.
Lysell for
Lysell
Hughes.
and Markelle.
Lysell and Korpisalo for Hughes.
We'll throw in a second as well.
Heard it here first.
How about that? Yeah, Quinn Hughes, not a Boston Bruin.
Not a Buffalo Sabre either.
Happening. How about that?
Report?
Yeah. So it was Minnesota, Detroit, Jersey,
the
Rangers, the Hurricanes, and the Sabres. First off, what were the Islanders doing? Just the only New York, New Jersey team that was not in on Quinn Hughes. But the Sabres, and they don't land Quinn Hughes, and finally Kevin Adams gets fired. It's funny how that works. You just couldn't land Quinn Hughes. It should be like shooting fish in a barrel to come get him to play in Buffalo.
If Quinn Hughes hates losing, Buffalo is the place for you.
By the way, dude, I have to imagine Vancouver was like begging Buffalo to just up the ante a little bit, right? Because Buffalo does have some young players. Like they probably could have put together a decent package. And I'll bet Vancouver was like, come on, man. just I want to say yes to this. I want to send Quinn after what he's done to us. I want to send him to Buffalo so fucking bad. And it just didn't quite come together. That Wild team's gonna be really good, man. Really freaking good. Anyway, you know what's I don't want to spoil it, but you know what I don't think is too good, Dan? That is these Stadium Series jerseys. Released to a ton of fanfare last Thursday night. Bruins will be playing, obviously, against Tampa, Raymond James Stadium, and it got mixed reviews. And here she is. Whew, that is bright. By the way, it's a Garden Level Podcast inside joke special. You know why, Dan?
Why is that?
So you can tell it's the number 26 jersey, which is Andrew Peak. And it also has the Captain C.
Yep.
Just like that guy outside the Garden.
We may have people who, honestly, we never released the video. So obviously, I think people who have been listening don't even know what we're talking about. But we went on the street to do some interviews a few weeks ago, which we will be trying to do again. We will get some good footage for everyone. But we went on the streets to get everyone's opinions on a few topics, but one of those topics was who should the next Bruins captain be? And there's two obvious answers, but we had one gentleman who put Andrew Peak's name into the running.
Without hesitation, man.
Without hesitation, he says he has a captain's face. Might not even be on the Bruins next year. He's not contractually obligated to be here.
There's been some overlap with that guy this week as well, because the team he hated the most, Buffalo Sabres, obviously. And he hates all of Buffalo. And I believe said, fuck Jake Allen. And the Patriots got Jake Allen this week, as I think he was talking about Josh. But anyway, Dan, here it is. Stadium Series jersey. What do you think?
It's bright. It's not as bad as Tampa's. That's one way.
That's probably the nicest thing you could say about it.
If anyone doesn't know what Tampa's looks like, it's just TBL going diagonal across. It's like basically just a BOS across, and that's it. But it's not as bad as Tampa's. It's bright. Honestly, like the Lake Tahoe jerseys, I really like those. I kind of wish they wore them more than once. Man. But I think they're wearing them with white gloves too, which is kind of, I'm not sure if I would do that. I kind of like black, but I will point out two things just from my initial thoughts. Obviously, we're going to ignore Andrew Peak being captain.
I'm not ignoring it. I'm embracing it. Someone's going to be it.
The logo, I just think it's obviously it's historic, but it looks like an armadillo. I don't know why.
I mean, I know why. It does kind of look like one.
So that's just a general observation from someone that's something like if you ask like your mom, like, what do you think? They'd be like, oh, that looks like an armadillo. But I think we're claiming New England as Boston. Are we the New England Bruins, or have we seen how bad the Rangers have been playing? And we're like, you know what? Now's our time to take over half of Connecticut, and let's get them, and let's give Hartford a team again. Let's get that market. But
some small Whalers fans were pissed about that, having the CT up there. I'll claim the other five, just no problem. I just don't really forget the Whalers. I just don't want Connecticut on there. I don't want to claim that as a New England state anymore.
Yeah, but the New England states was definitely interesting. I'm not sure what I'm not sure if they came out with the reasoning for that yet, but
you're playing in a football stadium, football teams, New England. I don't know, maybe. I think they just ran out of shit to put on the back.
Yeah, but the Connecticut being on there, I think, ruffled some feathers. I don't think Connecticut wants to be on there, and I don't think we want Connecticut. I think it's pretty mutual. So maybe we'll just take that off. But yeah, it's not as bad as Tampa's.
That is correct, Mundo, man. It is. So I don't mind this walking bear logo. I thought it was great with the Centennial, and I think this is a cool alternate. But like, if you're gonna do it, just do that logo just big. Like, there's a Bruins jersey never should have Boston written on it. All their logos are too good to warrant that. And I just hate it, dude. Someone said it looks like if you were doing a hockey movie or show and you couldn't get the licensing to put the Bruins logo, this is what you do. Just Boston with a little bear underneath. Like that is what you would do. I hate it. I don't like them at all. I don't know if they'll grow on me because I hate letters on an NHL jersey, specifically a Bruins one. I did buy the Winter Classic one a couple years ago that had Meth Bear and had Boston written over it, and I got sick of it, so I sold it on eBay. So I'm just not a fan. And what sucks is like every other gold jersey the Bruins have ever had, they fucking nailed it, man. Like Tahoe, Pooh Bear, first Winter Classic, like all of those are great. This one, I got nothing. And I'll give them some slack. The Bruins have had like 15 jerseys over the last decade, so maybe they just ran out of ideas.
Maybe, but this would be a great jersey in a bar 10 years from now. If you see Andrew P. Captain Stadium Series jersey, that would be an all-timer.
Just for 10 years from now.
That's something you take a picture of and send the group chat. Be like, yep, I just saw
That's
this.
This is like something you get when you finish last in fantasy football. Oh shit, Dan's gotta get it. Gotta get the Andrew P. Captain Stadium Series jersey.
Is it confirmed you are not buying this jersey?
I think it's confirmed, man. All things are subject to change because I buy every fucking Bruins jersey. But
can you tell everyone how many jerseys you've bought in your life? If you had to guess.
Jeez, just hockey?
No, that's do hockey and then everything.
Okay, so hockey
over under.
Hockey, I haven't gotten rid of many, so that's easy. It's like what's in my closet right now. I would say probably 50 hockey jerseys.
50 hockey, okay.
Yeah,
that's all in your closet.
And I've still got about 40. Yeah, so that's hockey. I went on a big thing like college and right outside of college with soccer jerseys because you can get good knockoffs for like $20. And each team has 3 of them. So I've probably bought about the same amount of soccer jerseys as well over my life, maybe a little more.
100.
So there's 50, 60 right there. So yeah, 100, 110. Probably about 100 between those two. And the other stuff I didn't buy a lot of. Baseball, football, basketball. I'd probably combine those 3 to say that I've bought about 40 of those as well. So yeah, 150.
Yeah,
let's call it.
If you need a jersey, just hit them up.
I got him, man. What I'm trying to accomplish at some point, Dan, is I want at some point, even if it's just for one season, to have a Bruins season ticket, 41 games, and be able to wear a new Bruins jersey for every single one. Different Bruins jersey for every single one. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, document that.
I think I've got about, I want to say it's 15 or 16 Bruins ones.
That's a lot more than I have. I had a Sergei Samsonov jersey.
Hell yeah, I still have one. Yeah.
And then I have a Brad Marchand jersey.
Hell yeah.
That sums it up right there. But yeah, I'm kind of, you wear one as a kid.
Oh, I ordered another one yesterday. I did order another one yesterday. As a Christmas gift to myself. It is a Bruins one. Yeah. I'm trying the Mitchell and Ness. The first line that they came out with sucked, but apparently the second line of Mitchell and Ness jerseys are pretty good. Got one for half off. It's a Willie O'Ree one. So it's that kind of old white Bruins jersey with black on top and black and kind of piss yellow down the sleeve. So I'm looking forward to it. Number 18 Willie O'Ree jersey, which is not the number he has retired for the Bruins, but rather the number he wore when he broke the NHL's color barrier. So how about that?
Yeah. Honestly, since we're now the New England Bruins, I might invest in a Hartford jersey or a hat.
Be pretty cool.
I remember you got some comments on the Whalers hats.
Yeah, people like them. They come out of the woodworks. I try to separate the Whalers entirely from Connecticut because I don't like Connecticut in really any way. So the Whalers are a different entity. So maybe we'll make that something on the show, or I show off a lot of the jerseys. I should be wearing one right now because
wear one a new one every episode.
I will. I'll start doing that. You just can't really tell.
That'll get us to episode 70.
Yeah, the Jonas Corposalo episode. Jonas
We're working on
Corposalo
that.
tribute episode.
We're working on getting him on for that one.
Yeah, that'll be big. That'll be big. No one's born 69, so that's difficult. At least it'll get us to the Zach Hamill episode, which is 52 for all the Corrali stands out there. Anyway, Dan, we gotta wrap this up. We've got to wrap this up. Last thing we got to get into funniest tweets of the week. Dan, you're going with the troll job here, are you not?
You gotta go troll job whenever you can. This was tweeted a few days ago. Obviously, the Bruins played in St. Louis earlier last week, and we have Morgan Geekie walking down the tunnel wearing a puffy jacket. The St. Louis Blues thought they were funny because it was 47 degrees in St. Louis, and they thought, you shouldn't wear a puffy jacket in 47-degree weather. What they didn't think was that it was a road trip, which a lot of NHL teams have, and he was going up to Winnipeg and Minnesota after that. So that was the reasoning for the puffy jacket. If I had to say, usually I wear one if I'm in Winnipeg in December. But
all the times you've done that. Yeah.
I love going to Winnipeg in December. But yeah, they thought they were funny by doing that, and they were wrong. And what makes this a lot better was there was a few players, not just Minton wasn't the only one that only scored 2 goals that game. We were on hat trick watch for 2 people, and the other person happened to wear number 47. His jersey is Mark Haslick, the 47 jersey. So it was just very ironic that the Blues tried to be funny and do a troll job on Geekie, and then Mark Haslick goes and scored 2 goals against him. And I don't have the tweet on me, but obviously Geekie, he comes on Twitter twice a year to troll other people, and obviously Geekie post a picture quoting that tweet with Mark Haslick as well. Our Twitter did it first, though. I think Geekie follows us and got some inspiration from that. But St. Louis Blues, they troll themselves.
It really writes itself. And it does. It gets me thinking now that we've established this for the show. Will the 47th episode be the Mark Haslick episode or the Stephen Kampfer episode? You do get a second option for Kampfer. So
we have Kampfer lined up, but let's just tell him, like, hey, if Haslick isn't playing and he's on, you're getting bumped to another episode.
69, because no one's worn the number. We'll have
that
you
one's open.
That is open. All right, my tweet of the week comes from Ty Anderson, who I think I've used before. And it's going off of what Dan was doing with his tweets last week. And that is this one. Oh, let's make that a little bit easier. Alex Steves, baby, our hero, now tied for the 35th most goals in the NHL since making his Bruins debut on November 8th. Tied with guys like Draisaitl, Kyle Connor, Macklin Celebrini, and Cole Caulfield, among others. That's elite company right there.
That's elite company, and November 8th to December 14th is usually like a very telling time. It's a very important time in the NHL where if you're in the top 35 in most goals, you're making an impact, and
Hall of Famers.
Yeah, you deserve to be acknowledged.
Yeah. Alex Steves, our hero. You can put him on any line. You can put him anywhere, any position. In fact, I think if you need an e-bug, Alex Steves could do that too. I mean, the things he's doing for this team.
I saw a tweet, Drake, Alex Steves, May. That was pretty funny. So maybe
I have heard that, by the way. People are saying potentially Drake, Alex Steves, May. Just let that simmer for a bit. All right, that's pretty much the show for today. Bruins, still kind of a wagon, especially when they're not playing good teams. And I'm here for that because they lost to a lot of bad teams last year. Dan, thanks, man.
Appreciate it, man. Until next week.
Hey, no problem.
It was an honor.
No problem at all. And guess what? I guess thank you to you guys listening as well. You can find more of us on YouTube if you just hit that little like button, but mainly that subscribe button is what's going to help us. It helps us keep our jobs. Find us on Twitter and TikTok as well, and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you want to listen to us while you're out living your busy lives. And we will see you next week on the next edition of the Garden Level Podcast.